If these organizations do not move fast enough with AI, they're kind of dead in the water.
Sam, so good to see you.
You
So
too.
maybe as a way of introduction, you have worked at some of the most iconic technology companies of our time, scaling partner programs across Salesforce, AWS, and now you're scaling the ecosystem at Google. So it would be really fun to hear your perspective on why this partnership with Blitzy and Google is so uniquely interesting for you and your team we've been working with the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Happy to be here. So I guess, you know, as someone that really moved over to Google from another hyperscaler and cloud provider, I think that it's really, really critical to align with some of the top AI organizations as we, Google, are in, quite frankly, one of the most momentous times within the inception of our organization because of what we're doing with AI, right? So when I look at the synergies, of how Google is positioned as an enterprise AI leader, which was one of the big reasons I made the jump, right? And then looking at the startups that are only going to make that brand excel, that is ultimately where I see the opportunity between organizations like ours. Why would you not have an enterprise AI leader like Google partnered at the hip with a startup AI leader like Blitzy, right? I think there are some probably additional elements that we could dig into, but at its core, that's where the interest lies.
Yeah, it's perfectly aligned. I think what I've been surprised by is the reception from the Google sales folks that are focused on financial services. So I'm pleasantly surprised, I should say,
Okay.
with how forward leaning and excited they have been in some of these conversations, because there's a unique approach not only to serve value to the Google customer base through Marketplace and expose them to a tool that uses a lot of Gemini within its stack,
Okay.
but also to increase Google Cloud usage, right? Bringing some of these on-prem workloads into the cloud. So there's this kind of like drag, as they call it to me, drag through effect.
Drag through.
And so maybe you could explain the dynamic there and why you think that's such a natural fit within FinServe.
Yeah, so I actually think that it's a natural fit within all regulated industries. I would only be I would be shrinking the total addressable market if I said just FinServe. So I'm going to
Future VC, Sam, future VC.
I'm gonna say what I believe in that I think in any regulated space you're gonna see the same sentiment, right? And as someone who's invested a lot of their time in the healthcare and life sciences side, I'm telling you it's the exact same thing. But yeah, when you think of enterprise banking, when you think of enterprise FinServes as a whole, they have been building things in so many on-prem environments for so long. And when you look at just the general way that enterprises operate, right? They have 1 million people out there to be able to build and deploy Google services, as quickly as they can. But typically many of those POCs take a really long time to get off the ground. There's a lot of political stuff that's needed to navigate, the amount of paperwork at a FinServe organization in order to get, it's the right types of NDAs in place and yada, 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 to be able to kind of go in and have their teams really be able to build and deploy these technologies the way they would like them to, whether it be, coding applications, agentic frameworks, whatever it could be. It just takes them a while. So there is a really unique interest within these large financial services organizations to take a look at companies that can solve that for them, whether they be fintech startups or actually just your AI native startups, and say, hey, like these are amazing ISVs. They're going to be able to solve the problem in probably a fraction of the time that doing it ourselves is going to solve, this problem. And if we can just figure out a way to contract with them, oh wait, contracting with them is really easy because it's already done on Marketplace. We already have all of the paperwork in place with Google. That just makes it that much easier, right? So the due diligence of wanting to work with organizations like yours just makes everyone move that much faster. And I think the last thing I would just say is that if these organizations do not move fast enough with AI, there's going to be this like really big economic problem, right? And gap to be able to move to production, kind of lead the way from a competitive standpoint against each other, right? And so if they don't move as quickly and they don't find the ISVs to be able to work fast enough in order to get them to where they need to be, they're kind of dead in the water. So we're seeing that, across a number of different industries, but financial services by all means is really eager to get going with organizations like yours.
Yeah, and they turned to Google because it has a AI leadership position, at least amongst the best. Depends on your perspective, but certainly an AI leader. And then how do I solve this problem? And it might not be a specific Google technology, or might not even be in that specific salesperson's responsibility. But Google's always serving as a consultant to say, I'll find the right person, tool, or technology to help advise you, because you, customer, are very important to us. And so that's the level of consultative teamwork that I've seen across the org, which is pleasantly surprising, right? Everyone thinks of Google as this bottoms up PLG. Search has been the golden goose, but the enterprise muscle that's been, I think, built over the last several years, being on the receiving end of that, and the folks that are consultatively saying, enterprise, bring us your technology challenges and let us help you ultimately navigate that. And if that results in more Google compute spend, fantastic. That's a likely outcome if you're going from on-prem to cloud, but being very focused on being a trusted advisor. So that's been, kudos to you and your org.
Thank you. Yeah. And I realize I didn't even get to kind of like the drag through that you mentioned. So to piggyback on that, I think one thing that we are seeing a lot of specifically of that drag through is not just compute, but it's actually a lot of the data, right? So when you think about in taking a big step back, when you think about running AI workloads, for these large organizations, or candidly any organization that is not a completely AI native company these days, right? In order for your AI to work in any way that it's going to be meaningful to you, you have to have a strong data architecture and underneath it in order to make sense of that data, right? And that is obviously a big problem in financial services. It's always been a problem. It's also always been a problem in healthcare. These types of companies, because they just have so many massive data sets that are coming up from so many different places, that data quality has always been a tricky thing to tackle. And when you look at wanting to align with Google, with all of our AI opportunity and ecosystem that is now been built out, there is a natural interest in then taking data that may be sitting elsewhere and bringing that in over to Google, and then making more sense of that data and having things just run candidly. And again, it's such a basic term, but more smoothly, right? And so, and securely, right? Because so that is something that we're seeing a lot of. We've done a lot of really thoughtful enablement with the sellers to make sure that, they understand some of those companies' challenges and how we can help tackle them. And I almost see that be, compute to me is truly so commoditized now, but data's different. Yes, you can have your data storage sitting anywhere, but when you think about having it be in a centralized structure where it's secure, you're working to make sense of that data, and then running your AI workloads and leveraging, AI ISVs or what have you on top of that, everything just feels a lot better. If I'm going to say it really simply, and we're getting a lot of that feedback from our enterprise and global customers.
It's such an interesting response that we're hearing, which is the mandate is to become AI first for a lot of these enterprises from the board level. Therefore, you need to be in a really good technical architecture spot to, including having all of your data, usable, because that's sort of a source of enterprise long duration differentiation that they have to work with. So they should have this advantage, right? If they can correctly apply technology, being AI, onto this data set. And then they realize that they're not set up in a position to take advantage of it. Right. And so that's often where we get brought in, which is, hey, we have something that wasn't viable to run in cloud, and we need to get this entire system transformed from an on-prem or mainframe system onto a cloud system, so that we can actually meet the mandate of AI adoption, because we're not primed for it. So that's the second order effect of the mandate, is realizing the systems today for a lot of these large scale heritage industries are not yet set up. So it's been really exciting to see that coming inbound to us, and having the opportunity to work with you all and these teams to get them in a position to deploy and adopt AI across all their systems.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you think about how critical and important it is to make your journey leveraging your financial data easier and more enjoyable, but also and accessible, right? That's why we need all of these organizations to speed it up and leverage, technology like yours to get there, right? And they're not going to be able to do it without it. So it's really transforming industries in a much faster way than I think they, were able to anticipate doing so before when you're working with partners like you and having kind of like the entirety of the Google ecosystem surrounding it.
Yeah, it's the other note I'll mention on how exciting it's been to work with folks across your team and other teams that you work with is there is no pressure to say, oh, we will only use Google technologies, right? And we love Google technologies.
Yeah.
We use a lot of Gemini, right? Like, as you know, we also use a lot of the other providers, right? And it says, great, let us know where we're exceptional today, why you're using us there, and where we can get better at to ultimately be used in the use cases that we're out in today. So it's very, very collaborative to say, like, we're looking like the engineers are like over here in our office every other week, trying to push the bounds of AI code generation because we're like on the edge of what is possible across every single provider. And so to have the low ego mindset to say, we acknowledge that it's possible there are use cases that other providers are beating us at today because this category is moving so fast. And we are going to approach this from a perspective of like, just tell us where to get better and we're going to put resources there. So it's been very empowering because seeing feedback get put into products quickly at a large scale organization isn't typical, I would say.
It's not. I think you just bring up a really good point though, which is that, one thing that I really like about how you all, kind of chose to go to market with us is that knowledge that you are receiving and the feedback that you're getting is really critical to how you're building your company. And I do think that they're your product and your company. So, and I separate out product and company because there's a lot of other parts of a company that need to operate well and grow and be sustainable and, have the entire flywheel that makes a startup go from inception to exit, whatever that exit is, right? Or enterprise.
IPO. It's right. IPO, Sam, just so you know.
Okay, IPO. Tell me that again in this market because that's what we want to hear. But yeah, so it's what I think what I was getting at is that there's been a lot of hyper growth in companies who haven't necessarily taken that go-to-market approach. That go-to-market has been very secondary, and the reason though, no necessarily fault of those companies, but I think a reason for that though is just because of how quickly things are moving and to just basically be like, okay, we need to dump every single ounce of energy in just the product because of the demand that we're getting. And no one is seeing, like companies going from 0 to 100 million in ARR is just like you're blinking and be like, what, right? And in order to do that, you have to make sure that your product is excelling. But in order to get the right feedback to make your business and your product truly sustainable, getting that feedback from all of the different, folks on the Google side, but also the enterprises that you're working with is critical to that sustained growth. And so I really do love the way that you all, and I think it's unique. I love the way that you all have thought about that and really built that into your core values as you're growing your business. And I think it's a total differentiator.
Yeah, I think what's most important to us is that we are enterprise first. Right? So we are focused on solving the big, hard, hairy problems within the enterprise. So we're ingesting 50 million lines of code and doing a monolith to microservices transformation, right, through code generation. It might be 3 weeks of inference time compute for that to happen. That is by definition not a hey, let's just bottoms up this thing and see if the world's largest financial service institutions try this out on their own. This is we have to be a partner. And we have to partner with the folks that they trust and create good relationships across the board. So I think that's why this has been such a strong start to a growing partnership. So, well, Sam, looking forward to seeing you next time you're here in Boston. And
me too.
Thanks for the time. We'll talk soon.
This was great. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate the partnership. Appreciate you guys as a team. It's really fun working with you and your group. And we just are big fans of what you're doing. So let's keep it up.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. Take care. Bye.